two, one, boost ignition, and liftoff, and all systems are go.
Welcome to the Lesbo and The Bean universe. Lesbo and The Bean. LaTB, LaTB, where mixed martial arts and the UFC get silly. Big silly. Buckle up and move your tray tables to their upright position. And please, somebody shut that baby up. It's time for Lesbo and The Bean.
Welcome back. Episode 123. Keep on chugging. From the bottom to the top, we have Devin Powell versus Alvaro Herrera. Herrera coming off of the Latin America show, already had a couple fights. Both of these fighters have a 2-fight losing streak. Devin Powell with a 8-3 record against Alvaro's 9-5. Alvaro has had a couple finishes, tends to be a striker, moved down from 170 pounds at 155, looking a little bit more shredded. It's mainly that right hand. Takedown defense is meh. On the ground, he looks lost at times, and definitely likes to keep it striking so he can land that straight right that is a piston. He has power in the third round, but if it doesn't land, you can see how the submission and ground game is where people get it done against him. And Devin Powell losing to Drakkar Klose and Daryl Horcher in a split decision. Those are both higher level than I think Herrera has fought as of late. On the ground, Powell has a distinct advantage. Striking-wise, Powell is a little bit herky-jerky. He has power and throws a lot of kicks and stuff, but definitely the avenue to get this fight to the ground and finish it there is where I see Powell winning. I got a submission round number 2. This is a low-level fight. Both fighters debuting. I'm going to let LaTB stay away all day from this, but I do have Powell winning this on the ground. Second round. Who do you have?
I don't really want to add too much to it to just save time for the fights I want to talk about.
Totally.
So I agree with you everywhere, except I think it takes him a little longer to find the submission in round 3.
Nice. I like that.
But I'm going to stay away from it as well.
8,400 for Devin Powell on DraftKings against 7,800 for Herrera. I don't think I'm gonna stay away from this on DraftKings as well. Doesn't make any sense. The minus 125 favorite being Powell in that. A lot of people see that low-level competition. Then we go to the strawweights. 115 pounds, we have Randa Markos versus Nina, the engaged lioness's offspring, Ansaroff. Randa Markos comes in with...
Offspring. Weird.
I just tried to make it rhyme as much as I thought I did a good job.
Offspring.
Ansaroff.
She gave birth to her.
Little lion. Randa Markos likes to get her wrestling going in there.
It makes sense that the lady lions are the ones that hunt.
So you got 2 lionesses in there?
Yeah, going to kill things.
She is known, though Nina Ansaroff is known as the Strina? What is that? The Strina? Nina Ansaroff? Markos, the
Strina Nina, as I'm guessing.
Strina Nina?
The Strina.
The Offspring. The Offspring is a way better one. Randa Markos, Quiet Storm, 8-5 contender series. We know who can beat Randa Markos. Alexis Grasso in a split decision and Courtney Casey, both stand-up fighters that were able to defend the takedowns. If Randa Markos doesn't get her takedowns going, it's really a tough fight for her. Her striking is underdeveloped. Even though she's at TriStar, we kind of have seen what her potential is, and I think it's right where she's at now. This is a coin flip of a fight. If there's a fighter, though, that has made more progression over time that I've seen make bigger leaps and bounds, 8-5 Nina Ansaroff, 2-fight winning streak, has done that. Her takedown defense has gotten on point. Her nutrition's gotten on point. You know she's working arm bars all day at night. You know in the evening, they working at arm bars at home, Kimuras and all that good shit. I got Ansaroff being actually
I call it the Donald Trump.
Oh?
You know
please.
She's grabbing pussy.
Oh! Getting that grip strength going. Getting that grip strength. I got Ansaroff walking away with this decided decision. I think she should be a heavy favorite here. Maybe a finish. I like Markos' heart in there, but I got Ansaroff being able to keep it on the feet, and on the feet, it's so heavy for Ansaroff. I'm going heavy decision, maybe a finish as the week goes on. Who do you have in this fight?
I don't think this is going to be a boring fight, and if anyone has this close, and if Nina is under 9-8, if she's under 8-7 on DraftKings, then I think you put Nina on every card. I think she's going to throw enough punches. I know her girl is a black belt with jiu-jitsu and outweighs her by probably 30 pounds. So to me, there's a way a woman could warm up with a woman. I say this all the time, that a male partner can't do, because a male has to hold back a little bit unless they're warming up with Chris Cyborg. They have to just, not that these women aren't killer, but I just think there's a way that she can train with the champion that none of the other women in this division get to do, except for Rose and Shevchenko. So I think Nina's going to crawl up this division, and I think Randa is just going to be, I don't want to say easy step in her way, but I think that Angela Hill was a harder fight for Nina. And I think Nina, the thing about Randa is she's really tough and she has tons of heart and she'll take a ton of beating. So I'm going to give her to round 3. And there's gonna be so much accumulation of punches, but eventually Nina's gonna punch herself out and just go for the submission. And I see her taking the arm bar or doing rear naked choke, something like that, just
right
because
for the
she's
V.
punching herself out a lot. So I got Nina submission round 3.
Woo! 8,500 for Nina Ansaroff.
That's a good price for her.
I agree. Against 7,700 Markos. I could see Markos being that wager gauger though, because of the amount of scrambles, takedowns, and just output for both of these ladies potentially.
Scrambles and takedowns, yes. Randa does not lay a lot of punches.
Yeah, that's a good
I've
point.
made that mistake putting her on cards wanting that in the past.
Minus 150 favorite as well, Nina Ansaroff. I think other people are seeing kind of that growth out of Ansaroff, as we are as well. On to the flyweights. We have Dustin Ortiz coming in against Matheus Nicolau. This is definitely a fight of the night contender off of the bat. You know, here, the Bean's a big fan of Ortiz, especially in those scrambles. I was looking at his record, and my picking stats with him, I've been 6 of 6.
Wow.
With Ortiz, and I thought I rode him for a long time, and then I backed off because he was losing these split decisions because of his grindability. Nicolau, 13-1, having quite a few fights in here against solid competition. It has been 6 months since his last win decision against Smoka. Both of these fighters share a win over Smoka. Nicolau being a top prospect at 125, but Dustin Ortiz to me is a prospect killer. He's one of those guys that comes in and always has a gritty split decision fight and makes fighters look worse than they are. And it's more Ortiz is just grind city. Ton of takedowns, coming off a 2-fight winning streak against Pantoja, which I actually picked against Ortiz there. Ground him out, and Hector Sandoval ended up finishing him in there, losing to Moreno in a submission and Formiga in a decision. I'm going to say here, Nicolau's coming in with a ton of hype. Great striking. On the ground, really good as well. Sneaks in submissions, and that's where people are thinking that the same thing that Moreno did, caught Ortiz with a head kick and then finished him on the ground. I think a lot of people see Nicolau being able to emulate that completely, but I think Ortiz goes heavy on those takedowns like he usually does, racks him up, and gets a split decision. Dirty-ass split. You heard it here first. Dustin Ortiz, the underdog. I got him. How do you feel this one ends up going?
Again, I don't want to add too many extra words to stuff you already said. I just have it going the other way. I think Nicolau is a guy that if he ruins a dirty split, where people are like, what? Well, I can see it. You know, he makes fights really tight. I just see him eking it out the other way over Dustin Ortiz, but I probably won't put him too many if he's heavy favorited, because I like everything you say about Dustin Ortiz.
So 9,000 for Matheus Nicolau on DraftKings against 7-2 wage gauge Dustin Ortiz. Do you see a decision though? You see a split decision, not a finish?
I see a split decision as well. I just got to go in the other way.
That's where Ortiz is going to more than likely be that wage gauge, especially with those takedowns. The chin, I'm not worried about his chin so much. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to really start to hurt Ortiz in there. Then we go to the 125ers, Alexis Davis against Caitlin Chukagian, blonde fighter against the Alligator. 19-7 for Alexis Davis, longtime contender at 33 years old against 2-fight winning streak, 10-1. Chukagian's only loss coming to Liz Gorilla in a split decision, but last beating Irene Aldana and Borella. decision also losing, or Davis also losing to Liz Carmouche 7 months ago in a split decision and beating Cindy Danios in a decision. Losing the McMahon. Davis, we know what we get in there. Good ground game. Likes to take the fight to the ground. Has actually a good inside takedown. She'll step over the back of the knee and get it down there. Chookagian likes to keep it standing. Blonde fighter tends to be a kickboxer. Has shown to get her hips away. She's coming out of the All-Stars Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu team, but has really started to show her takedown defenses, how she's starting to win these decisions, because she is a better striker than most of these ladies. Doesn't have a ton of power. More of that kill you by 1,000 cuts. And Alexis Davis, to me, is starting to lose a little bit of a step. And striking-wise, if she doesn't get this down, I see her losing a decision just due to 30-27, if not 29-28. It all depends on that takedown, and I'm giving it to Chookagian decision. I'm going to probably stay away from this one completely. How do you feel this one goes down?
I agree with you. I think this is going to be a rough fight everywhere, and it might be a painful one to watch. It might get boring. I got Davis decision right now. I could see myself easily switching to Chookagian. I just like the Liz Carmouche win for Alexis Davis a little while ago, whereas Barella is just a little too green.
Agreed.
Still.
That's a good point.
So I'm just going with experience here, but that did not pay off for me last week. So Davis decision.
Chookagian, 8,700 on DraftKings against 7,500 for Davis. That's too much for Chookagian, especially without a finish really accumulating in there. Davis
I think it
is
could
tough
be
to
a
get out of
wager
there.
gager.
As Davis as well?
Yep.
For that decision.
I don't see her getting finished.
Yeah, I kind of don't see that finish coming along either. Real quick on the betting lines for both of those. Ortiz plus 185 against Nicolau's minus 225. There might be some money to be made there. And for Markos against, I said that 150. Where were we? Wow, these lines are all split up. Oh, we don't have a line yet for officially for that's weird. Chookagian and Davis. Yeah, it's not on my best fight odds.
Maybe
is where
it
I'll
is
tend to
just
get it.
even,
Super short notice.
Even odds.
True. So, to the 155ers we go. John the Bull Makdessi versus Ross, the real deal, Pearson. Both of these guys, longtime veterans. Decline for both of these guys. You know how we feel here. Ross Pearson with a 20-14 record. He's barely holding onto a contract in there. Makdessi, everything could be said the same for a 15-4 record, or 15-6 record. Makdessi coming off of a win to Trujillo. Nobody saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I thought Makdessi was out of it, but he tends to be a Taekwondo stylist in there. Has an okay gas tank. It's just that chin. If people can land on Makdessi, he crumbles. Been saying it for a very, very long time. And Ross Pearson was on a 4-fight losing streak. Finally beat Hirota in a decision 5 months ago, but took a beating in there. We just kind of are seeing that Ross Pearson is losing a step, losing a bit of power, losing a little bit of that gas tank, but still has all the skills in there to be able to beat solid fighters. Ross Pearson has better takedowns. I don't see this going to the ground at all. Makdessi has okay takedown defense. On the ground, it would be advantageous for Ross because he could easily win a decision there, but I think that does not going to matter. This is going to stay striking. If it doesn't go to decision, I am betting against Makdessi's chin, and I do think Ross Pearson lands heavy shots or heavier shots that accumulate more, and against other fighters, they'd withstand it, but Makdessi cannot. I got Ross Pearson TKO round number 1. I know that's weird, but it's more of a fade on Makdessi. And again, I'm going to probably start to fade Ross Pearson after this, but this is a winnable fight for either fighter. I got TKO round number 1 Pearson. Who do you have?
I see everything you say about Makdessi, but I believe he only gets finished by head kicks. And I don't see Ross Pearson throwing a head kick. So I think if there's going to be an ugly split decision, this might be the fight. I got Makdessi decision, eking it out over Ross Pearson. And if Ross Pearson's contract's up, this could be the last time we see him fight in the UFC.
I agree
There's
with
no
that.
reason to
I
keep him.
agree
We got
with
enough
that.
UK fighters at this point.
He's done so much for the sport, though, and he's come in on short notice and lost the guys, and like he's fought top level. He hasn't had any easy fights at all. 8,900 for Makdessi on DraftKings against the 7,300.
See, I feel that way about Makdessi. The guys he Makdessi,
Yep.
the guys he uses to are so, like, they're the best guys.
They are legit guys.
But 2 of the guys he's lost to fight at 170 now.
Good point. Good point. Minus 170 favored almost 2-1 for Makdessi against the plus 150 for Pearson. Wow, I got a couple underdogs so far tonight. Should I be scared? What's your assessment so far?
One thing I'll say about this card is it should be the pay-per-view, and the Dillashaw Garbrandt should be the Fox card. This is such a gift to Fox on
This
the
is
way
a fun
out.
fight. This
It's
is
a
a fun
real
card.
way for, if they are looking for any extra fans from the Fox contract right here at the tail end of it, this is the biggest treat I've ever seen on TV, this card.
I agree. This is
For
a
a free
fun,
card.
Free
It's the
card.
best free card I've ever seen on TV. I cannot even believe it. I thought it was a pay-per-view all month. And then as I was researching it, I'm like, are you kidding? Wow, these fights? And then you
Nice.
look at next week's pay-per-view, not great.
A lot of stuff is
Not
falling
great.
out
There's
of that.
only 2 great fight. That's not fair to say, but 2 pay-per-view fights.
Worthy, pay-per-view
Yeah.
worthy, willing to pay for it. Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. Then we go to the 205ers with Gadzuram Antigulov against Ion Kutalaba. Stretching it out there, the Russians are really making me work here. We have a 20-4 fighter, 31-year-old.
If
Antigulov
comes out and makes a highlight reel, we'll remember his name.
Definitely. He has had a couple highlights in there, beating a few coming out of the ABC scene. He's beat Rodrigo de Lima in a submission, then also submitted Joaquin Christensen. Both of those fighters, I believe, are out of the UFC. Ian Kutalaba being 13-3. The Hulk himself is coming off of one of the worst beatdowns, not coming off of, because he just beat Henrique da Silva TKO, which we all saw, because you know how we feel about Frankenstein, but when push comes to shove, Kutalaba is a front runner, and if he doesn't get his act going in there, he tends to fold a little bit. Cannonier showed us. Cannonier was holding him playground style down. After Kutalaba gassed hard in that first round, Kutalaba pushes hard, shoots a lot of takedowns, but if he doesn't get people out of there in the first round or stay on top, he folds, and he can't get up from underneath. He'll just eat punches. Thought he could have been finished in there. And on the ground, Antigulov, that's what he likes to do. He likes to get on the ground, has good reversals, good ground game for a big guy, sneaky submissions, and he makes you work. I think the grappling advantage here actually goes to Antigulov because he works better off of his back than Kutalaba does off of his back, where Kutalaba has to be on top to be winning the fight. Striking-wise, I do give it to Kutalaba. He swings with intent, but he throws himself out of balance sometimes. So a really good striker is going to capitalize on that. I don't think Antigulov's there. That makes it a bit scary for me. I have submission round number 2, Antigulov. I do think on the ground, sneakier submission guy. I'm going to kind of stay away from this, though. Ian Kutalaba is a live-ass dog in there. I'm going to be tentative on this. I might play Kutalaba on a couple spots as well. Tentative fight. This is a fun one as well. This is definitely a really fun fight. Who do you have winning this bout?
That is the same way I feel about everything down to the round. That is I'm just as tentative. Even though we have the same pick, submission round 2 for Antigulov, I am frightened to put it anywhere because I think, when I think live wire, I think Kutalaba can catch anyone at any time. Yeah. He reminds me, his style is comparable to Mike Perry when he first came into the UFC, except we see Mike Perry honing himself and becoming very fine-tuned and getting his instruments so sharp and so precise going over to JW. Kutalaba, the same thing needs to happen for him. He needs to change camps. But something interesting about both these fighters is they don't fight out of the United States, and they're fighting in Canada, so they probably won't have to be tested.
Good call.
So Cutelaba, I do feel like we've seen him fight in America of recently, which means he does have to be tested at least after fight. It's interesting to me. I think Antigulov, it might be worth putting. I think they're both worth putting a couple places.
I think they both are at 8,600.
I see the knockout for Cutelaba or the submission for Antigulov.
8,600 for Antigulov, 7,600 for Cutelaba. Ugh. That is again, tentative on that. I could see playing either one of those fighters, but we have a couple other wager gauges throughout the night that I think it's going to be good money nights. A lot of good potential parlays to put in together and get exposure to either one of those fighters. Then we have, or at the betting lines though, real quick for those two guys, Antigulov minus 165 against a plus 145 Cutelaba. People slightly edging out again, that fight. Then we are at the co-preliminary main event with Hakeem Dadua against Austin Arnett at 145 pounds. Dadua being 7-1, getting his first L in there against big underdog Danny Henry. He was here last week.
I have Cajun Johnson versus Islam Makdessi.
One. Damn, why'd I skip one? It's showing the hate for Cajun Johnson. My bad. I'm getting ahead of myself because next one is a fun one. But you are correct. Ian Makdessi against Cajun, Raging Cajun. Islam Makdessi against Raging Cajun Johnson. Project Spearhead's own Raging Cajun. In there, Leslie Smith protege. He's at TriStar. Worked a bit with Leslie Smith, but vocal. Been very vocal against the UFC. So the UFC has been trying to put him in there against people to lose. And it hasn't worked out for them. Cajun Johnson's been able to weasel out some fights. Really staying on the back foot. Really likes to be a counter striker in there. Has power off of his counter strike. We've seen him knock out quite a few guys off of that back foot. He will run directly backwards, but get that lateral movement on the cage and catches guys when they chase. Islam Makdessi, being a Russian fighter, 15-1. His only loss in there being to Adriano Martins, with which Raging Cajun knocked out. So they have a common opponent in there. Makdessi, though, coming off of a 3-fight winning streak against Chris Wade, Nick Lentz, and Gleason Tebow as of late in a knockout. All those guys are grinders. All those are heavy-ass fights. And the Russian got in there, got double-legged, put him against the cage, and really tangled him up, and was winning tons of ground and pound. I expect him to try to do the same here.
Does Cajun Johnson host The Daily Show? Does he look like that guy?
The Daily Show? The European guy, right?
Yeah.
I could see that. They could be cousins. Raging Cajun, though, tends to be losing fights in my eyes. And the reason he's also won some of these split decisions is because he's fighting out of Canada. He's a Canadian TriStar disciple. The judges sway a little bit on here. I got Makdessi winning a heavy one-sided decision, but do not think for one moment that he doesn't land a couple harder shots. And even though we see one or two takedowns actually land for Makdessi, that the judges go the other way. I got Makdessi. He's a decided favorite for a reason. Who do you have at the end of the night here?
Pretty much the shame I got Makdessi KO round 3, though. I think it's almost disrespectful that he's having to fight backward this much. I think the rankings are a little screwed here, and he is beating the right guys to be crawling further in this division. So it's nothing against Cajun Johnson. They're just, in my opinion, they should be like 15 different in ranking. So I got Makdessi, and I think he figures out how to do it by round 3.
So we have 9,600 for Makdessi against 6,600 against Raging Cajun. There's no way I'm putting Makdessi on many things. It's pretty much TKO round number 1 is what he has to get in there to pay off that type of money. Unless he puts a absolute beat down, Tim Elliott style, and just styles all over Raging Cajun, which could happen. Could happen, but I'm going to be limitedly exposed to him on DraftKings. I think you have to pay a lot there. For Makdessi, the actual betting line minus 730 against plus 550. That's a humongous 7-1 favorite for Makdessi. Are you going to put any money on that?
That's
That's humongous.
It probably should be, though. I feel like he's fighting backwards so much here.
I think a lot of people
It's
see
no
that as
favors to Cajun.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. Then we go to the... Hold on, am I skipping one? Yeah, it is the co-main event for the co-preliminary main event with Hakeem Dawodu against Austin Arnett. Dawodu being 7-1, getting his first loss in the UFC against Henry. That was a LaTB underdog pick of the week in Henry against Dawodu. No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just the Bean, and I'm biased there. Saw that winning, but Arnett coming off a 2-fight losing streak, 15-4, hasn't been able to get a win in the UFC. One of the rare options where he's actually lost a Contender Series fight, came in the UFC and lost again TKO due to body shot. Dawodu is a striker who was on a huge hype train against Henry. Henry is a sneaky guy. I think Henry more overlooked people, and the people thought that Henry got a lucky knockout in there, and people are seeing that that is not so true. Austin Arnett, though, hasn't really gotten anything going, and I don't think here against a fast starter like Dawodu, it's going to be more of the same for him. I got TKO round number 1. A lot of people see that. I think a lot of people see that. We don't need to get heavy into it because Arnett doesn't have good takedowns, good takedown defense, but striking-wise, he's even lacking there, and Dawodu, probably an elbow finish. Round number 1. Who do you have?
Ugh. I have Dawodu KO round 2, but I'm tentative on it because I think Dawodu can be finished by submission, and I think Arnett can submit somebody. So I'm a little hesitant going into it, but I still do have Dawodu KO round 1.
Minus 390, 4-1 underdog is Arnett on that. So I could see this fight being that minus 8. I could see that. I'd be more comfortable Dawodu being in that Makdessi betting wise position here. That's how much more one-sided I see that fight. But on to the headline bout on Fight Pass. We have Jordan Mein against Alex Morono at 170 pounds. Welterweights coming in 30-12 for Jordan Mein. 28 years old. Last beating Eric Silva, who is no longer in the UFC. Eric Silva just coming off of a win in a different fight league, armbar off of his back. Alex Morono being 14-4, last beating Josh Berkman 4 months ago via submission, but losing to a split decision Nakamura. Nakamura tends to be a grinder in there. Jordan Mein can be ground a little bit. I think Morono is very underrated just because he's a master of all trades, or what is it? Jack of all trades, master of none. Doesn't have tons of power. It's really his gas tank and his grindingness that gets Morono fights in there. And Jordan Mein, who's already retired at 28 years old and come back with a long fight career, said he's ready in there. Oh, he's ready when he blows people out and gets them out of there quickly. But prior to that, when he has grinding-ass fights, Jordan Mein tends to quit because he's been in there since he was 16 years old. Dad was a fighter as well, and it's just been too long of a show. I think Morono breaks Jordan Mein in here and actually gets a finish in the second or third round.
Wow.
I like Morono here a lot. I'm going to put Morono where I can. Who do you have in this fight?
I have Morono as well. I just have Morono by decision. Jordan Mein, the guys he loses to are guys that go on to be like pretty substantial guys in the sport, but the guys he's beating aren't guys that even stick around too many fights after. So I think Alex Morono still has an upward trajectory.
Totally.
And so I have him winning this fight by decision, and I think this is a bloody battle.
So a lot of people,
If you can make a parlay on bloody battle.
it's tough because you're getting minus 110. This is a coin flip of a fight. Even odds for these fighters on DraftKings, 8,100 against 8,100 for Jordan Mein. But we're both siding with Morono decision. I do have Morono decision, but I do think if someone's the finish in the later rounds, definitely Morono is going to be that fighter. Then we start off the FS1 main card with a brawl for y'all at 155 pounds. Aban Mercier, OBM, finally coming into his own against fresh new fighter in the scene, coming off of a humongous 4-1 underdog victory against Beneil Dariush. Dariush's chin has been a little lacking, but Aaron Hernandez coming in all sorts of bodied up. I'd say this is a hot body contest for both of these young men at 29 years old.
I think Auburn started to come in really lean.
That's what I'm saying. He's finally starting to look shredded, where he looked a little kiddish out there in times, where Hernandez
looks ripped.
He looks like he could be in a bodybuilding contest.
Ripped.
What we saw from Hernandez and have seen with his 9-1 record in here, coming off of a long winning streak, 25-year-old at 5'9", is cuts from probably about $175 to get to 155 pounds. We know Alban Mercier cut down from welterweight. That's why he's finally looking shredded in there. At 11-2, Alban Mercier really relies on the ground. His striking has always been developing. He's gotten better. Also a tri-star guy, also a Canada guy. We have to be watching out. You know you're going to have a bias here with the Canadian judges. We've seen it before in Alban's fights because he can get picked apart standing. And if he doesn't get fights to the ground, I see Alban being a little more hesitant in the striking, does slow down a bit more, but again, has been coming into his own much more. Hernandez, though, has a high wrestling D1 pedigree and really almost Justin Gaethje's it in there because he's so reliant on being able to get back to his feet when he wants to, when people have been able to take him down. His gas tank in his previous fights against lower competition has held up as well. I'm going against the grain here. I know I am. I got Hernandez TKO round number 1. I think he blitzes OBM. I don't think the judges are involved here. I like what I saw with Hernandez. I like what I hear Hernandez saying, like, don't get used to me being in there and grinding people out. He can grind if he needs to, but he can surprise mofos as well. OBM can leave his chin a little high at times, and it only takes Hernandez one time to find that chin. We saw that as of late. Who do you have in this fight?
I do agree we saw it of late, but it was against Beneil Dariush.
Bitchini.
I think Alban Mercier is in the right trajectory, and I don't think he had the same power at 170 that he does have at 155, hence why he's looking so shredded. I like everything I see from Hernandez, and I do not think this is an easy fight at all for Alban Mercier. I do think it becomes a grind fest after the first round, and I think Hernandez's cardio is going to squash after that same first round. I'm not going to have either fighter heavily anywhere, but I do think the amount of transitions that could happen could be points for whoever's the cheapest. I have Alban Mercier winning by a decision, and I think the decision might even be where people are pissed about it, but I think he'll get the hometown swing of the sickle, so to speak. And I feel like every time Alban Mercier fights in Canada, we kind of see that happen, where it goes to decision and the judges were like, I don't know if I felt right about that.
The crowd was cheering for our guy, so of course we got to give it to them.
Yeah.
Alban Mercier, 8,300 on DraftKings against 7,900. Betting-wise, you're going to end up coming in with the bean if you go Hernandez at
I don't
plus
see Hernandez
115.
getting finished.
I agree with that. Against Alban Mercier's plus 135. I could see this being even money by the betting lines by fight night. This is going to be minus 115.
Plus?
Minus 115. No, plus 115 for Hernandez, minus 135. Slight favorite to Alban Mercier.
That should be about right.
I agree. That's about right. Got a couple underdogs here. This night, but that's a testament to how fun this fight night is and why it should be a pay-per-view instead of next week, because these are close ones.
I thought you were hating on this card.
Was I really? When was I hating on it?
Right when I got here. You were like, I don't know, there's a couple of meh fights on this one, and I was like, really? I'm loving this card.
Yeah, we talked about the fights. It was a lady fight, and then there was the first fight of the night. Those were like the two fights, and then I was like, we got a lot of people that are... No? Okay, maybe I was wrong.
I don't know, maybe.
There is two fights that I'm totally do not give a shit about, but this main card should be a pay-per-view.
I know, whereas the next week, there's only two fights that you do give a shit about.
True.
Which is crazy.
Absolutely crazy. This could easily be a co-main event on a pay-per-view to me. We have former champion, longtime title holder.
For a Fox night, this could be the main event.
This easy could be the main event. A former belt holder against, I guess in the main event we have a former belt holder as well, but Joanna being a longtime title reign at 115 against Tecia Torres, the Tiny Tornado herself. 14-2, only 2 losses being to the current champ, Rose Namajunas at 115. Tecia Torres with a 10-2 record only in the UFC, losing to Jessica Andrade off of her second loss. Also Rose Namajunas in a decision. We know what we get with the Tiny Tornado. She's definitely got that strong grit game in there, working constantly with Pennington, the last title contender in there. Tecia Torres coming out of Colorado fighting. She was at Top Team, but now is over with Pennington. Against Andrade, Andrade really used a slick wrestling game and forward pressure to just outland Tecia Torres. Tecia Torres never looked hurt in there. Joanna Jedrzejczyk is always kill you by 1,000 cuts. We're going to see a striking battle in here. If there's a takedown for either fighter, who would you say is more likely to throw the takedown in there?
Tecia all day.
I was thinking Tecia as well. But we've seen great takedown defense with JJ. JJ has been able to stop the best of them, systematically picking people apart. Though Carolina, we've seen multiple fights that go into 5-rounders where Tecia Torres, or where JJ has a lot of lumps and bruises. She eats punches as well in there.
Oh, yeah.
And has been relying on her chin in there. I do believe there's some sort of mix with Tecia Torres. Either way, people have seen Rose Namajunas, how she did it. There's an opening for a left hook, and Tecia Torres can put a game plan together and is a good enough martial artist to be able to land that left hook against Joanna. Joanna, though, comes from the Top Team. They are former training partners. Tecia Torres coming out and saying that JJ at American Top Team only trains with low-level fighters. She never trained with the elite girls because they was too hard of practices. And a lot of people say JJ is broken after that Rose Namajunas fight. A lot of people are saying mentally JJ is not there. I can see reasons for all of that and reasons for none of it. With it, I am super excited for this fight. I do think this is going to be
Who
one
is saying JJ's not there?
I've seen a lot of Twitter. A lot of Twitter people have been blowing it up. I'm not going to drop any dimes because I can't think of them all, but I have seen a lot of people betting on Tecia Torres in this bout because they think, from what they're saying, JJ is mentally, because of how hyped she gets for fights, and not only is it her first loss against Rose, it's 2 losses in a row. So they're saying that they're just, a lot of people are hesitant on the gym. It's all chatter. People make up shit. I got JJ still in a decision. This is a 3-rounder. Just telling you what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. 115. How do you have in this bout?
Whoever you're hearing it from, they need to get their own podcast and talk about it themselves. I only want to hear what you think about it. Especially if it's fucking hate.
Yep.
On Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I think she reminds us why they call her Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Another thing about this fight that we haven't gotten to see in a very long time with Joanna, maybe 3, maybe 4 years, a 3-round fight. What is Joanna gonna unleash in a 3-round fight that she is so used to having to save for 5 rounds? Yeah, did Rose catch her? For sure. Did Rose take her down? For sure. Mm-hmm. I do believe that Tecia is a martial artist enough to put together a game plan enough. I don't know if her camp's elite enough. I think it has to, I think what Pat Barry and Rose are doing is something super, super, super special. And I do also think Tecia left American Top Team because of Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I believe that Rocky left American Top Team because of Amanda Nunes. I think once you start seeing yourself as the champion, you can't train with the champion. It's too crazy.
Yep.
So I think they left because they knew they had to do it to be able to take her on. I also think that maybe Joanna doesn't train in an open gym because she knows that girl's coming up on her toes and she's not going to let her. No, I don't think Ticia's as good of a wrestler as Claudia, and I don't think she's as good of a puncher as Jessica Andrade. So I think JJ's safe here.
Yep.
I think she handedly walks away with the decision, or she systematically pieces her apart, like you were saying, and knocks her out in round 3. I love Tecia Torres. I just don't think she is tall enough for this division. It's almost like she's a 105er.
An atomweight.
Yeah.
People have been calling for that, but it is limited pickings out there for atomweight. It's not a heavy division. Even in the minor organizations, they have trouble trying to fill that atomweight
She does
position.
have power enough, though, to catch her the same way Rose did, but I think everyone is just assuming, like, because Rose found it, everybody else can. No,
Yep.
Rose is a champion. Don't take that away from Rose. Like, don't take that away from what she's doing and the camp she's putting together to beat the champion and then do it again. Like, there's something to be said about beating Joanna the second time.
Totally.
So,
Totally agreed with that.
it's still Joanna on Jedrzejczyk, everyone.
It is champion violence.
Get it together.
Joanna coming in at 9,200 on DraftKings against 7,000.
Whoa, she get knocked out. How much is it for Tecia? 7-9?
7,000 even for Tecia Torres.
She
for
could
a
be a live
decision.
wire because she
She could be. We have other guys that are definitely I feel more comfortable with in there against not as experienced opponents. Minus 300 for Joanna Jedrzejczyk, plus 250 for Tecia Torres. Yeah, I'm not going to bet Tecia Torres anywhere.
No.
No.
And look
it
at
just
this
can't be.
next fight coming up.
Co-main event. It's a 4-carder because it is a 4-card main card out of Calgary. Co-main event. Also one of the longest reigning champions of all time. Finally, people are saying he's a shell of himself. Post USADA, José Aldo against Jeremy Stephens up on a rise. Jeremy Stephens trying to get that belt. People not wanting to fight him. Dustin Ortiz or Brian Ortega not willing to fight Jeremy Stephens on short notice. Off of that, Jeremy Stephens just saying he's ready. He's in his prime. He's 28 and 14, 32 years old. Tends to be a striker against José Aldo. 26 and 4. José Aldo, I mean.
Yeah.
26 and 4. Has only lost in the UFC 2 in a row, though. To Max Holloway and Conor McGregor getting a win against Frankie Edgar decision in there in between all of those losses. Max Holloway really showed the blueprint of how to beat José Aldo and how you can do it in 2 different ways. Initially, Max Holloway beat him in decision, then he finally finished him, and you can really take all that tape and see how putting José Aldo into the later rounds, which this is a 3-rounder, that really benefits José Aldo. Mm-hmm. Checking leg kicks really is a good effect on Aldo, and scrambling-wise, just making it grind out affects José Aldo now that he's post-USADA. I think the leg kick game is really where Little Heathen has to get it going. He's loving that low calf kick, and José Aldo really leans on that forward leg to throw a beautiful jab. Crisp combinations. Jose, if he can stick to a game plan and pick apart Jeremy Stephens. He's a better striker. He's a better ground guy. But he is just a bit of a shell of himself. He's been competing at the highest level. Also coming out of the Nova União camp. They've been having Eduardo Dantas out of Bellator just falter. Gedalia left. All of their elite people that have gone anywhere have left that camp. Their main coach, Javier Mendez.
Claudia hasn't won since she's left.
Agreed. But guys out of there haven't won either. But Claudia did change her game plan dramatically after she changed there. The main Javier Mendez, or not Javier Mendez, whoever the main coach there that started Nova União just left 2 months ago. So they've had a lot of turmoil. I think Jeremy Stephens is in a prime spot to, again, make a name off of José Aldo, and I think that's kind of where he's at in his career, for people to make names off of him. I got Jeremy Stephens, TKO now, round number 2 or 3. I'm liking the underdog, potentially, 32-year-old Stephens coming out with the win. Who do you have in this fight?
I like everything you say, and I had Jeremy Stephens for the longest time because I also like him training with Dominic Cruz, who I think is the best tape reader in the game, and
Totally.
I think he can figure out the perfect game plan to beat José Aldo. There's so much tape out there.
Yep.
All that being said, José Aldo only loses to guys who should be fighting at a heavier weight class. Like, everyone he loses to are like, Max Holloway. Look at everything going on with him and his weight right now. Seems like big, huge problems. So he probably will never be a 145er again. The other, Conor McGregor,
Never.
maybe, he'll never be a 145er ever again. So I think Jose Aldo is only losing to the best guys. Do I think that, all that being said, Jeremy Stephens, I believe, could go out there and starch Frankie Edgar right now.
I would agree with that.
I think
100%.
Jeremy is on the right trajectory all the way around. So I think this is going to be a banger of a fight.
Yep.
I do think Jeremy Stephens could stop this fight purely because of leg kicks. I do think he has the power to stop this fight. All of that. Jeremy Stephens has never even come close to fighting the caliber of guy that Jose Aldo is. So I have Jose Aldo decision. And I think it's going to be a great fight. And I've gone back and forth, so take that for what it is right now.
It's going to be a grind of a fight. I think it's spot on with, again, this could be a fight of the night contender.
Agree.
Easily. Please, leg kicks come into play. If Jeremy Stephens gets a knockout, it's later in the rounds. So you're going to see the Bean probably putting
and I could
a prop bet
easily
on the
switch
third.
on that. Like, even though I have Aldo decision, if it's an underdog big enough, I could still like Jeremy Stephens as a Leslie Smith underdog pick.
Jeremy Stephens plus 110 against minus 130 favorite Jose Aldo.
I think they could be even lines by the fight.
I could see a coin flip here, minus 115, minus 115 on DraftKings. Jose Aldo, 8,200 against 8,000 for Jeremy Stephens. I might expose myself to both fighters here. For these type of odds.
I agree. But it's only 3 rounds, so I'm not going to put them both on any cards.
Right. On to the main event. We got a number 2, a reunion, a controversial finish, was overturned due to back of the head blows. We have Dustin Poirier against former title holder, 3 former title holders in a row here, in Eddie Alvarez, 29-5 against a 23-5 Dustin Poirier. Poirier coming off of a 4-fight winning streak, or 3-fight winning streak, with that overturned loss against Alvarez. Alvarez coming off of his win to Justin Gaethje 7 months ago. Then he got his win overturned and lost to Conor McGregor prior to that. But Eddie Alvarez, at 34 years old, a lot of people are waiting, as am I, for that fade position to come in against Justin Gaethje. I didn't think Alvarez would hold up, and that was a brutal fight. Both fighters were very hurt. Eddie Alvarez, for every fight he's pretty much been in his whole career, he gets hurt, always has the heart to come back for that Jersey boy. Dustin Poirier has been known to quit a little bit more in there. Even in that fight, he said he was wobbled. It was a punch to the back of the head, and it was called a TKO initially because he said he could not continue. And that's that game that didn't work out for him, same as Weidman, trying to put his hand down and get kneed, why they're having that rematch.
Yeah.
So, this is, after their lost fights, Dustin Poirier has really, in his last 2 fights, come against Anthony Pettis and Justin Gaethje, showed us good game plan, really talked about how his mindset is like he's having fun in there. It's not as stressful. He's not worried about losing anymore. And at 29 years old, he's been a long-time veteran in there. Has a heavy left hand. Great southpaw. Always hurts people with that left. Gas tank under him. Jiu-jitsu, always good. But Eddie Alvarez has great jiu-jitsu on top. Really stifles you with that wrestling. Isn't afraid to get in there and brawl at all. At any point in time. And has power in both hands. Leg kicks go to Eddie Alvarez here. He throws them a bit more and a bit more often. And Dustin Poirier doesn't check kicks as much as I like in there, but does have better movement. Given the slight power advantage to Dustin Poirier here, I thought he was getting the better of Alvarez until that behind the ear shot. I think Dustin Poirier can put the better game plan together in here and come out with the victory. This is a 5-rounder. Also a contender for fight of the night. These guys are going to come out banging. I'm going to go with Dustin Poirier decision. Could see a finish in there, but I don't know for who. So I'm going to go with the weak-ass play right now. Maybe look on that Twitterverse, see if I decide to go on a finish. Could be a coin flip by the end of it. Who do you have in this fight?
The Underground King all day! Woo! I think it's an Eddie easy decision. I felt like he was winning the fight the last time. whether the illegal knee was thrown or not, he was going to finish that fight, in my opinion. The thing with Eddie is everybody always gets the best of him at first. They give everything they have. They think they finish him, and then they have nothing left to give, and Eddie's still coming at you round 3, round 4, round 5, like it's round 1 and 2. And that's the dangerous thing with Eddie Alvarez. Eddie was caught by Conor McGregor, same guy that,
hard punching southpaw.
And I like the Diamond. He's no Conor McGregor.
Agreed.
He beat Anthony Pettis, who I think is a shell of himself. And then he beat Justin Gaethje, who is a shell of himself. And Eddie made Justin Gaethje the shell of himself. So Dustin got the easier fight, in my opinion, than even though you say they beat the same dude. I don't think so. I think Eddie took part of Justin that Justin will never get back. So it was an easier fight. The number one thing right here is just destiny for this to happen is I like Eddie's chances of getting the Khabib fight over Conor getting that fight. And I like Conor liking the idea of fighting Eddie again way over fighting Khabib. I think Eddie has a better chance at beating Khabib than Dustin Poirier. And I know I'm looking past this fight, but I know an illegal strike was thrown, but I think Eddie would have won that fight anyway. 2 months ago, that Dustin fought Justin, crazy. It is so crazy to me that he doesn't think some part of this, like I have an injury on my shin that I did when I was about 17 years old that I feel right now when I did that. And it is just as tender, not as the day I did it, but after 2 months after healing, it is just as tender as that.
It takes a while.
So, 2 months after a Justin Gaethje fight,
brutal fight,
and then you're talking about Eddie's leg kicks?
It's a point.
I just think, what's Dustin going to do? Come 5-round fight of leg kicks? Not going to happen. I got Eddie here, and I think he's going to have a KO or a TKO round 4, maybe a tiny bit sooner than that. And I feel really confident about it. I do not see Dustin being able to knock out Eddie.
I mean, if you've been listening to the show, you know we got split fights all night. Underdogs for days all over the card. There's going to be money to be made here. DraftKings 8,800 for Poirier against 7,400 against Alvarez. Wow. Interesting. The favorite as well is Dustin Poirier minus 160 against a plus 140 Eddie Alvarez. Slight favorite. Almost 2-1 favorite. Dustin Poirier. I'm leaning with the favorite. You're going with the underdog. Are you going to put Eddie all over your DraftKings? You kind of have to.
Yes.
Kind of have to. I'm going to be tentative on Poirier as well for 8-8. He has to pretty much get Eddie Alvarez out of there in the first round. This is a 5-rounder. I could see it stacking him even. But a 5-rounder
I'm not
with
putting
potential?
Dustin anywhere.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think he should be the favorite. I don't understand how anyone can see him finishing somebody he couldn't finish before.
Good point. We have a few wager gaugers throughout the night. Do we have a Leslie Smith underdog pick of the week?
I don't know.
I don't think we decided officially.
I don't think we agreed on anything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Except one round of one guy beating Kutalaba. We agreed on round 2 submission for anklet top.
And I think he is the favorite, so he cannot be our underdog by any stats. But that a testament to the card. You better be watching if you're going to take off the card. Maybe
gift.
Next week.
This is a summertime gift.
Exactly. You're going to get that
clean.
Your
summertime blues.
Clean stream. Like and subscribe wherever you can.
Thank you everyone for listening, and see you Sunday.
Lesbo and The Bean.
Thanks for listening to LaTB. For all things Lesbo and The Bean, head over to lesboandthebean.com or follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.